Well, Paul, for those that don't know about you and the journey that has brought you to being one of the most electric speakers and motivators and just overall, somebody that is just great at giving technical and tactical advice on how to obviously win Mondays, but more importantly, just win the week, win your months, win your life. Where did this journey start for you, brother?
Oh my gosh, such a crazy ride, and probably needs a couple adult beverages along the way. But look, everybody knows me as the profile sports exec, and it leads to a Jerry Maguire leap. And I'm more than happy to unpack what led to the leap and all that transformation. But back in the day, so I was 3 NBA teams, then the NFL league office, then the San Francisco 49ers. It was in a business capacity, sales and biz dev. So from literally an entry level rep, think the movie Boiler Room, think the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, think the movie Wolf of Wall Street without the shadiness. That was us. Like, we were in that environment selling teams that had no butts in seats. And that's how I started. It was very much this scrappy, tenacious underdog type of mentality. And literally, brother, I started selling. So I'm an LA guy, and my first gig was at Staples Center. And now it's Crypto.com Arena, which is kind of weird. But anyways, back in the day, all my friends and family were like, oh my God, you're going to work at Staples Center. Kobe and Shaq are winning championships. Like, dude, you're a Laker. And not so fast. They were on the other side of the hallway. So here I am trying to flip tickets when ESPN called us the worst brand in sports. And the front cover of Sports Illustrated said worst franchise in sports history. And you got to sell that. So that was the earliest fire that I walked through. Then fast forward, I go to New Orleans with the Hornets. We almost lost our team to permanent relocation. So we had this franchise saving campaign. Then I go to your neck of the woods, Sacramento Kings. Life is amazing, running sales and running all our company culture initiatives. And then 2 months later, bang, league-wide labor lockout. So how do you manage morale when it feels like people's livelihoods are taken away? Yeah. Then I go to the NFL league office, 345 Park Ave. That actually didn't have a lot of controversy. It just had a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. It was like this 4X, 5X number from the prior Super Bowl. I was running a national sales campaign on behalf of the league office and an agency owned by the Yankees and Cowboys. And I'm happy to say we shattered the goal. We shattered the record. So that was a massive trophy. And when you do something cool like that, which my team and I were grateful enough to be a part of, it turns a lot of heads. And so all of a sudden the Niners come calling. They're opening up this shiny new facility in the heart of Silicon Valley, Levi Stadium, tech forward, progressive, innovative. And so they carve out this new executive role and running all the revenue operations. And life again was gravy. Life again was great until one of the greatest controversies that the sports industry had ever seen happen. So my team and I are facing 70,000 fans. And here I am, the head of sales and service, and Colin Kaepernick kneels. So I'm not going to say anything political. I'm not going to say anything social. Let's just say that for all the trophies of a 15-year journey, from shattering billion-dollar-plus goals at Levi Stadium to breaking an all-time Super Bowl revenue record to saving NBA franchises to taking those lowly Clippers from number 28 out of 30 in revenue to number 2 out of 30 year over year, selling the same bad product on the court, there's a lot of trophies. There's a lot of fires I walked through. And the number one thing I learned is this. If the world around us is filled with hurdles and obstacles and setbacks and challenges and adversity and storms, I just call that defense. So in the spirit of my first book, The Power of Playing Offense, I have learned that regardless of how defensive the environment around us gets, you can always choose to play offense. And at my first stop with those Clippers, worst brand in sports, worst franchise in sports history, how the hell do you sell that? Here is what I learned. The losses are not my fault, but I made them my responsibility. So for you listening to this, adversity, challenge, tough environment, tough market, tough economy, it's not your fault. Make it your responsibility. That's the number one thing that I learned in my 15 years.
That's beautiful. Now, I know there's a lot to unpack on so many of the great learning lessons, so many of the great probably people you've brushed shoulders with. Let's talk about you, though, for a quick second. You go into many, as you said, challenging environments, situations, not necessarily the cards stacked against you, but some pretty big mountains and hurdles to climb and overcome. What would you say were some of the winning ingredients for you and your team to smash those records achieve those goals and go above and beyond to get the recognition that led to opening up other doors going forward.
100%. And as they say, cliches are cliches for a reason, right? And mantras are mantras for a reason. So I don't think that there's anything revolutionary, but I believe that we struggle with simplicity. I believe that we struggle with basics. I believe that we struggle with consistency. And when you struggle with those things, you never achieve the growth or the momentum or the transformation that you really want because you just thought it was uninspiring or unmotivating. Like getting healthy is not a sexy process. It's really not. Like, yeah, sure, go run on a treadmill for one day. Good luck with that. Eat cauliflower, God forbid, for 5 days. Like, dude, it's not sexy, but it works when you obsess with a process, you're dedicated, you're committed, and it's not that there's this pot of gold at the end. You just embrace the journey. And so here's a quick story from the beginning of my sports days, and the simplicity and the foundations of controlling these controllables were what I applied, and I scaled it out through teams and departments and cultures and organizations for the decade to follow. So back at those Clippers, when I say something like, hey, there's 30 NBA teams. You're number 28 in revenue. How the hell do you turn 28 into number 2 out of 30 selling the same bad product on the court? Like, what's the secret sauce? And there actually was. So we used to do a lot of group interviews, and I would gather everybody in the boardroom of Staples Center, and I would talk all about this constitution. And I would say, we at the Clippers, our sales family has a constitution with 3 non-negotiables. There are 3 things that are fully in your control. If you do these 3 things in this job, in this opportunity, I will take care of you the rest of your life. Literally, even if this job doesn't work out, these were sales reps. I told them, call me in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, cash this check, cash my words. I will mentor you. I will advise you. I will coach you. I will give you tough advice, loving advice. Like, dude, I am in your corner, but you can't mess with these 3 things: work ethic, positivity, and coachability. I'll repeat that: work ethic, positivity, and coachability. And in this setting, Matt, people looked at me like I had a third eye and a second head. Like, dude, what about the numbers? What about the KPIs? What about the metrics? What about the goals? And this is a sales job. Like, talk to us about that. And I said, don't worry about that, because I'm only going to offer you the job if I think you can exceed expectations. I'm not going to present you an offer if I don't think you can sell. But if I think you can sell, and if you make the commitment of those 3 things, then you got a Thunder Buddy for life. Like, this is where I learned that it was bigger than selling widgets, this relational capital, but this authenticity and this drive. And so, dude, literally, that's how we went from 28th to 2nd. I found, because here's the number one insight. I'll really shrink this down into a single statement. You can't coach care. I'll repeat that. You cannot coach care. I don't have a wand to make you care. I don't have a wand. Think about those 3 things: work ethic, positivity, coachability. I don't have a wand to make you work harder. I don't have a wand to make you positive in what I know is going to be a negative and a toxic environment. I don't have a wand to make you obsessed with getting 1% better every day. I don't have a wand for you to be better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than today. You got to want that. So basically, I made a gut instinct on the skill, and I hired for the will, and will was care. And my pillars of care were work ethic, positivity, and coachability. And when I found a tribe of people that pulled that rope in the same direction, that's what leads to all those astronomical results the rest of my career.
That's amazing, man. Now, many people are solopreneurs who listen to the show. Many people are investors, business owners. They run big teams. You've worked and inspired and motivated people on an individual basis and in team environments and groups. Talk about some of the, maybe differences and things to be aware of in those individual settings, and how to lead and motivate individuals, and maybe talk about how you and or some of the best teams you've been around lead and motivate and hold accountable in ways that create those winning cultures.
Let's talk about what I call championship culture. These are cultures that have a standard of excellence. They obsess over winning, and they do the work in the unseen hours that are required to win. But here is what they have in common. And the beauty of this, Matt, is I'm talking to you as an individual, I'm talking to people that run teams, run departments, run organizations. Whether you're a part of a 1-person organization, a 5-person organization, or a 10,000-person organization, this is universally relevant and applicable. And it's all about championship culture. Normally, people think culture is all top down. Show me a great C-suite, I'll show you a great culture. Show me a toxic C-suite, I'll show you a toxic culture. And if you're a solopreneur, what the hell am I even thinking about culture for? Like, dude, I'm here in my private studio at home and my commute is a hallway. This is what I'm about to share is equally as relevant. I learned this insight, not from my days in sports, but post days, off stage. So I always say on stage impact leads to off stage impact. So on stage, I'm a keynote speaker. And then folks from the audience that it really resonated with, and they run teams and departments and organizations, they then bring me in, whether it's training or consulting or whatever it is. So I did consulting for one of the top 2 airlines in the US. They've got 120,000 employees, 6,000 positional leaders. So I had a 2-year partnership with them, and I trained in different rounds all 6,000 leaders. The thing is, Matt, when people approached me and said, so what's the culture of the airline like? I didn't just respond with something generic. I said, well, I don't know. Who's the leader? What department? What location? What floor of the building? That's the culture. Because when I would visit headquarters, I go into floor 5 and they're high-fiving. I would go into floor 6. Shh, watch out. Boss is around the corner. And Matt, the crazy thing is, this wasn't just the same airline. Floor 5 and 6 were the same departments, but a drastically different weather system. Floor 5 was warm and green and cozy. Floor 6 was frigid and cold. Same department, different weather system, which taught me that all culture is local. All culture is local, down to the floor of the building, down to the individual. So even as an individual, when you and I, when we walk in a room or we hop on a Zoom meeting or whatever we do, we could either warm it up or we could cool it off. The question is, are we aware of our own temperature? And when you are aware of your temperature and you choose warmth, it invites warmth. It attracts warmth. You now have a warmer sense of self. You have a warmer business. You have a warmer relationship. You have a warmer life. You have a warmer team. You have a warmer culture. Warmth wins. And that's the beauty. I don't care if you're a 1-person shop, a 5-person shop, or a 50-person shop. Every person can own their weather system every single day. And I choose warmth. I surround myself with people that choose warmth. And that's my recommendation for everyone listening and watching right now is like, you literally need to just master this ability to warm up your relationships, and it starts in the mirror. So I just thought that insight from my consulting days was like, dude, ever since I started applying this, it's just gold.
Yeah. What did you do with the people that were cold and frigid, but they were key to the team? Can you fix those people? How do you address those people? Or do you remove those people?
Great question. In any given room, so now let's assume it's a team or company. So let's go bigger than just an individual. Yep. There's 3 characters. There's 3 avatars. There's 3 profiles in any given team. There's partners, there's tourists, and there's prisoners. Let's talk about it. Partners, tourists, and prisoners. If we were in a setting, like when I'm doing a training workshop, I know exactly who you are. Partners, front row, engaged, leaning in, good energy. They don't even need to agree with me, but they just keep the conversation going. Like they're in, they're committed, right? Yep. Partners. Tourists, some go left, some go right. If it goes well, they're happy they came. If it goes poorly, they blame you, the tour guide. And then prisoners, back row, arms are folded. 5:30 can't get here soon enough. I was voluntold to be here. That's a prisoner. When I used to go through my culture transformation efforts, I used to do it all wrong. I tried to fix the prisoners. I thought I could change the prisoners, and I learned my lesson. 2 things. 1, you can't. All change is willing. I can't force you to change. Just like I can't coach care, I cannot force change. Can't. Then number 2 is it emptied my cup. I was drained because I was trying to change other people and it was ineffective. So now my cup is empty and I have no more energy to pour into the people that matter, that do really want to be there. So now my culture transformation is the opposite. Shine a light on the brightest partners in the room and watch those bright spots scale. Shine a light on the partners, and that warmth attracts some of the tourists, not all, but the right tourists will go and they'll join. And then some will just kind of stay in their lane. You might keep them, but then the prisoners find their way out because it just becomes miserable.
Yeah.
And so, like, just if you're leading a team, stop trying to fix the prisoners, shine a light on the partners, watch those bright spots, watch the bright spots scale.
So as you hit some pretty amazing milestones and achievements in your professional career, what was it that inspired you, the inspirer, to go out and start your own business and break free of the ecosystem that you were playing in for so long?
The worst day of my life turned out to be the best decision in my life. So the worst day is at 19 years old, I lost my hero. My dad passed when I was 19. So as an only child, my mom immediately goes from parent to partner. You snap your fingers and you go from boy to man. You got to grow up real quick. I'm a freshman in college and I get the phone call that nobody wanted. By trade, my dad was a continuation school teacher. So if you're not familiar with what a continuation school teacher does and what the difference is with other teachers, continuation schools are a kid's last chance. They've been kicked out of traditional school, and a continuation is the last stop before they land on the streets. Like, the hope and prayer is that they don't fail out of this and they go on to become a statistic on the street. Just background and just, it's just some horror stories. But it also, if you do it for the right reasons, if you teach in that environment, my dad said, I can drive more impact there. I remember he used to use the word of making a difference. He might have not said impact, but he said making a difference. And now I say the definition of impact is making a difference. So he was a man of impact. He said, I can create more impact in a continuation school versus a traditional school, which he did for decades. So now fast forward, he passes. I'm in my 20s, years after he passes. And a couple of his former students came up to me walking in the streets, same neighborhood that he taught at. One told me, your dad was the first person that ever believed in me. Another said, your dad gave me a reason to think that tomorrow is worth it. And Matt, I never knew that there's people around us every day that don't feel that tomorrow is worth it. And so when I learned the possibilities of what happens when you are a person of impact, when you just want to leave people in places better than you found them, that's when I just made this very intentional decision. It changed my energy as a leader to be less about the result and the outcome and to be more about just pouring everything into people. Because if you hire the right people and if they know you care about them as a whole person, the production and the performance follow. Like, if you hire people with the skill and now they actually know you have their back, dude, they'd run through more than walls for you. Like that's just like, no one can debate me on that. But here we are, we're just trying to sell more widgets and make the right investment. Like, I get the smart decision, but like, business lacks heart. And so I became a very heart-forward leader, and that was my separator in a very heart gap type of a situation. I was like, dude, I'm going to be the heart guy because my dad was a heart guy. And yeah, he chose a classroom. I chose a boardroom. Now I choose a stage, but the impact is all the same. And so I really asked myself this question, Matt, and it was after a life-changing retreat, the origin story of Winning Monday, which I'm more than happy to unpack that. But what it leads to is a Jerry Maguire leap out of the industry. And here's the question that I asked myself based on my hero, my dad, my late father, being a man of impact. I said, if the sports industry are these walls, can I create more impact inside of the walls of the industry or beyond? And it was that question where I knew that I had to chase impact. And I never wanted to leave sports, but staying in sports, I would have been leaving impact on the table. So I made a commitment to my hero that I just want to make him proud every day. And I'm going to go chase impact. And here we are 6, 7, 8 years later, and it's been a hell of a run.
So let's shift over to that, because obviously you're making significant impact through your ability to get into large organizations and go the one-to-many route. You're doing it on stages, at events and conferences. What is Win Monday, and how did this idea, incept you and your journey and lead you to where we see you at right now?
Whether I'm on a stage or here we are on a podcast, the ROI of this conversation comes down to the decisions we make and the actions we take on Monday morning. That is a fundamental truth. If all you do is listen to this conversation and you do nothing differently next week, I'm sorry, your life will be no better. It will be no different. You're not going to grow. You're not going to transform. I'm sorry. However, if we take an action, if we make a decision based on one thing that we heard in this conversation, your life can change. And my belief is that when you win Monday, you have momentum to win the week. So imagine a world where you win 52 Mondays and you now have 52 winning weeks, and then you had 12 winning months and you had a winning year. And it all started with that decision to win Monday. That's the compounding effect. As investors, we understand this language of compounding. The compounding effect of winning Monday can be transformational. And the beauty is, it's just one decision or one action on a Monday. And then you rinse, repeat the following week. We're not climbing Everest here. We're just doing one thing. And I believe in this so much because there was a Monday that changed my life. And if it wasn't for this Monday, I'm still in sports. It was a retreat back in 2016. And Matt, nothing was broken, brother. This is early 2016. And those watching on video, I got an image over here of me marrying my best friend, my rock, and my soulmate on the field of Levi Stadium in early 2016, a month after Super Bowl 50, where we hosted it. The 5-0 paint is still on the grass, and we are standing right there getting married. The venue was her idea, I swear. Nobody believes me when I say that, but yes, and I best decision she ever made after me writing Better Decisions Faster. She's a converted Raider to a Niner fan, so that could be the best decision. But so what happens is a handful of months after this magical day on the field, the C-suite of the Niners, of which I was in it, we go offsite for a 2-day workshop, a 2-day retreat, and it changed my life. It was all self-discovery work. It was find your why. It was unearth your core values. And Matt, I got obsessed. I got obsessed because I knew that if I do nothing with this discovery of self, these things like your why and your values, they're just going to be distant North Stars. And the problem with distant North Stars is they're inspiring and they work in the blue skies when you've got the wind at your back. But as soon as a storm and adversity strike, you forget about that North Star and you get into survival mode. That's just how humans and our mindsets are conditioned. So what I have learned is when you anchor yourself on the stuff that is meaningful to you and that matters to you, and there's nothing more meaningful than your values. Basically, if your values are who you are, and then they drive your thoughts, and when you can align your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions, your most confident self, your most authentic self, your most effective self, like all of this stuff. So I just got obsessed. And that following Monday, here's what happens. I went back to the front office and I was preaching all about the retreat because I just felt like a different person. Anybody that would listen to me on my team, I just started spouting off about this retreat. And one by one, people came up to me and said, I want some of that. So then inside of the front office, the water cooler buzz starts to go. Now, some of the football coaches come up to me. Then some of the players come up to me. Then eventually HR comes up to me and says, what do you think of coaching the why to our onboarding employees? And that's when I became known as the why coach. Greatest graduation of my life, from career to calling. I felt called to pay this gift of purpose forward. And as the old song goes, eventually you fall more in love with your passion project than your day job. Yes, I loved running sales and revenue for a football team. Yes, I did work in a dream industry. But as soon as I felt my own purpose and now I was paying it forward, that stuff started to light me up in ways that I said, what if I could scale this? What if I could? And that's what leads to that impact question. And that's where I started to connect with my dad and my hero. And that's the whole backstory of what leads to that. Can I create more impact here or beyond? And when I thought about being an inspirational and purpose-driven messenger that's on a mission, and here's the beauty, Matt. When you're in a career, there's always something that's next. I make this much to make that much. I get this promotion to get that promotion. Like there's this very linear stock-wise, it has to go up and to the right. And I think that's great. But now, you know what inspires me is I don't have an expiration date. As long as, yes, the stock goes up and to the right, there's no specific metric that measures success. Did I make my hero proud? Am I leaving people in places better? Because I know that if I'm doing that, then the work and the income and the impact follow. Like it happens. Like this isn't rocket science. I never used to think like that when I worked in a corporate box. Never. I just wanted whatever I could put on my LinkedIn profile. And eventually, if it looks sexier by the month and year, then I'm winning. And dude, that's the wrong game. I found that outer game ain't happiness, ain't fulfillment. It's not purpose, not impact, it's not legacy. So when I started to focus more on that stuff, that's when life changed.
What are the people that are winning their Mondays at the highest levels doing differently than those that aren't?
Great question. For one, they refuse to do things that don't bring them passion. So the majority of the world starts to fret Monday on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening.
Yeah.
I got a newsflash for you. If that's how you feel, then you don't love what you do on Monday. I'm not telling you need to be so stoked on Sunday. I'm not telling you that I'm high-fiving the wall on Sunday night. I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is I'm not afraid of Monday. When I wake up, I'm not afraid to go attack it. I'm going to do the work that others won't. I'm going to do the work in the unseen hours because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So there's a connection. Here's a stat for you and your entire audience, Matt. The average person is going to work over 100,000 hours over the course of a career. And for entrepreneurs, you can 1.5 or 2x that. No problem, okay? 150,000, 200,000, you do you. Okay. Why would you want in the pie chart of time, the biggest piece of pie is work, the second biggest piece is sleep, the third piece is everything else? Why in the biggest piece of pie, the biggest piece of real estate, would you want to be miserable? Would you not be fired up? Would you not? So that's what winning Monday people do. They maximize the biggest piece of this finite resource, but also this abundant resource called time. And they say, hell yeah. So there's a bit of passion there. Now, because they're willing to do this work, they're self-starters, like they're driven. Their motivation is not driven by carrots or sticks. It's all intrinsic. They have an internal drive. Nobody needs to tell them to go to work. Nobody needs to tell them to work harder. They do it because they want to. Remember, you can't coach care. So these people care, and that care makes them very driven, and their motivation, the tank is never empty. It's just not. And then the last piece is because of the way that this love of the work and the love of winning and the love of growth and the love of success, it starts to feel so good. They're just more consistent than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
They're more consistent. So those would be the biggest things. I would say passion, intrinsic motivation, and consistency.
Love that. What about for the people that are already winning Mondays? They're crushing it. They're passionate. But as we all know, right, it's not a linear path. It's got peaks, it's got valleys, but they're considered peak performers. They've achieved great success. What does the evolution of Win Monday look like? What is the evolution, growth of, the peak performer look like? And what should those peak performers be aware of, be checking in on, challenging themselves on? Because it can get stale sometimes, right? You're like, man, I've been doing this over and over and I'm hitting some good wins and milestones. And yet I'm still not feeling like I'm maybe growing, or maybe I'm feeling a little stale. What does that evolution look like?
Everything you just said, which checks all the boxes that a high performer and high achiever are expected to do.
Right.
So the growth, the success, and all of that, I get it. It's trophies. I come from a world of trophies. I understand that. But are you giving yourself the internal trophies? And like, this is kind of one of those no BS tests, all right? If you're listening to this, like, don't BS yourself. Like, life is too short. Are you 10 out of 10 happy on a consistent basis? I know there's moments and I know there's bad things that happen, but like, what's your happiness meter look like? What's your fulfillment meter look like? If you were to die tomorrow, now I'm not trying to be morbid here, but would you die with no regret? Like, are you literally like, dude, if today was my last day, am I taking actions and making decisions that would be concurrent with the life that I believe in? So if tomorrow something were to happen, I left it all out on the field. And like, I don't just mean the goals and the metrics and the success. I mean, like, literally, like, from a relationship perspective. Do you have the people that matter the most to you in your life? What's the relationship with kids look like? What's the relationship with spouse look like? All of that. And like, you can't BS yourself. And so I think that's one angle to approach my response with. But here's what I would also say. If you're killing it and in a way that the world sees, beyond all those inner game metrics that I just described. I would also say the beauty of winning Monday is it gives you this massive equilibrium, this massive sense of neutrality where your stock, even if it goes up and to the right, the spikes are less volatile. So if something amazing happens, and let's say you feel an 8 out of 10 dopamine hit, it's good in the moment, but you're going to crash after. And here's why. Because the moment that something doesn't go your way, your basement is a -8. If your ceiling is a +8, the pendulum always equals below the line as steeply as you go above the line. What I have seen from the highest performers and achievers in the world, the people that are consistently winning Monday, is when something good happens, they embrace it, they like it, but then they get back to what got them there in the first place. And it's not this lack of smelling the roses. They just realize that, like, hey, it's just another Tuesday. Hey, it's just another Saturday. It's just another opportunity for me to win. And I'm not going to get too high. The beauty of that mentality is you don't crash. When something bad happens, dude, Matt, bad things have happened in my business in the last 2 weeks. Horrible things happened 6 months ago. Like all these things, all out of my control, all environmental, all stuff that I could have beat myself up about or had a victim mentality, but like it just happens. And I just absorb the blow. I absorb the blow and I keep moving forward. And that's the beauty of winning Monday. And here's the last thing I'll share about winning Monday. If you had a winning week, then it's a momentum building opportunity that you pick up on the following Monday. But let's say that you know what hit the fan this week. It's a broken week. It did not go your way. Everything went against you. Then what a beautiful opportunity to hit a reset button. And next Monday is a fresh start. So you're just creating these sprints where positive leads to momentum, negative just leads to an opportunity of resilience. And that's another characteristic of people that win Monday.
I love that. As we kind of turn the corner on the episode here, I would love to give, those that are maybe in a rut, a little bit of a tactical, pendulum swing back in the right direction. You're somebody that I know is very purposeful and, intentional about how you help people gain momentum. We all know that bad decisions, can compound in the wrong direction very quickly. But talk about some of the baseline foundational decisions, choices, actions that can lead to building momentum going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I love how you centered it all around momentum. Literally, if you were to go to my website at paulepsteinspeaks.com, you'll see Monday Momentum there. That's exactly what it is. It's a free gift from my heart for people to have more momentum in their business and life. And so literally go to winmonday.win. It's there. Here's an example of one thing you can do to create more momentum. And I call it redefining your daily scorecard. So let's get tactical, because the problem is a lot of people, we base not only our success, but we base our thoughts about, was it a winning day, on something that is either quantifiable or something that is external or something that is out of our control. And as you know, like, yeah, you're going to win a lot over the course of life, but even me, like I'm going to lose some. Like you're just inevitably, like, you don't win every day unless you have the right scorecard, unless you have the right metrics. So here's what I mean by that. If I used to sell, I would measure everything based on, did I sell a widget? And if I did, then it was a successful day. And if I didn't, then it was a losing day. Okay, well, that's one school of thought. Now, I call it the principle of EIR. EIR stand for experience, information, relationships. That's my new daily scorecard. Here's how it works. At the end of every day, do an audit. E, experience. What experience did I gain today? I, information. What information did I learn today? R, relationships. What relationship did I build or enhance today? And the compounding effect of having positive responses to gaining new experience, learning new information, building or enhancing relationships, you literally can't lose. I can have a winning day every day, and that is fully in my control. You could be the highest performer, the highest achiever in the world, or you could be somebody that's in a rut. EIR works because The one that people misconstrue is experience. Let's just use a funny analogy. Let's say you're single, you go on a horrible date. Most people would be like, that was an L, that was a loss. Okay, that's one perspective. But in my words, you got to date some crazy to find the one. Okay. And so I got to figure out who I like, who I don't like. I love this about him or her. I hate this about him or her. And you go on enough dates and now you have clarity on what you're looking for and who you're looking for. So I would equate that bad date to the world is positive experience. I learned something, right? And so you got to go on some bad dates. And so that's kind of the piece about experiences. I'm not promising you a rosy outcome, but even if it's a crap outcome, what'd you learn from it? There's your information. Oh, was there a relationship that, like, here's a good example. I've been in business consulting relationships, formal partnerships that don't have a happy ending in the business sense. But I met amazing brothers and sisters as a part of those groups, and they're going to be my tribe till the day I die. We just didn't have the formal business model. It just never quite had the synergy we expected it to. Was that a loss? Was that a failed experiment? Or would I say, you know what? I just met 8 lifetime relationships. And yeah, it took me a year and a half to learn that and to go through it, but I had to go through it. And that's the beauty of this EIR formula. It's less about outcome and it's more about pulling the gold from, as they say, pull the gold from the poop. This is really kind of one of those things of redefining your scorecard, and EIR, experience, information, relationships. That's a tactic you can implement immediately to win Monday.
That's a beautiful, simple framework. I always love those simple frameworks that you can just pull those tools off the tool belt, put them in play. They get you good results and at least move you in the right direction. I know you have so many more that we didn't even get a chance to talk about today. A lot of people are probably going to want to know more about Win Monday, follow you. Your energy is infectious, right? And I think that's probably been commented to you about one of your superpowers, right? So for those that want to follow you and get in closer proximity to what you got going on, learn more about Win Monday, what's the best place for them to do that, Paul?
Love it and super appreciate you having me on and for this opportunity. So simple. As an individual, you want to continue your Winning Monday and Monday momentum journey, just go to winmonday.win. That's winmonday.win. And if we zoom out, you're leading a team, a culture, an organization, looking for a speaker for your next event, paulepsteinspeaks.com. So winmonday.win is for you as an individual. For speaking and books and all that other good stuff, paulepsteinspeaks.com will get you to the finish line.
Paul Epstein, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, brother.